Hey guys, so the Oscars are around the corner. Last year, I had done a video on who I think should have won in each category for the Oscars. I went through all the films that were nominated and what would have been my pick. This is not a predictions video, this is more of a video on who I feel should have deservingly won in the Oscars. So here's a look at what I had thought last year. And well, stay tuned to my channel to know more about what I think about the movies this year as well.
Hey guys, so with the Oscars around the corner, here are my picks and thoughts for all of the major categories. In this video, I'm also going to be giving you really interesting insights about all the films in all the different categories. So let's go ahead and break down the Oscars. Starting off with Best Picture, the nominations are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Now, lots of nominations here. Now, let me just give you a quick insight into what the Best Picture award really means. So, the Best Picture award for the Oscars is typically given to the film where the different pieces and part of a film come together in unison to create a great work of art. So, this basically means that the best film is a film where you have amazing direction, amazing sound, writing, VFX, all of that. Now, having said that, I feel the two films that really stand out for me over here are Oppenheimer and Poor Things. Now, I'll be honest, my favorite film out of this entire list was American Fiction. But if I were to be completely objective over here, I think the award for this should go to Oppenheimer. The next category here is of Best Director. The nominations are Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Now, over here, there are three films that really stand out for me. One is Anatomy of a Fall, one is Oppenheimer, and one is Poor Things. Now, what's interesting is that all these three films are in very different budget categories. So, Anatomy of a Fall was made for about roughly $6.5 million. Oppenheimer was made for about $100 million, and Poor Things was made for about $35 million. But what's great about these films is that in their given budget range, the directors have fully utilized the resources on hand and have created something absolutely amazing with it. While it's a tough choice, I'm going to have to go for Poor Things, Yorgos Lanthimos as Best Director. I say this because Yorgos has created an absolutely insane and incredible world in the movie Poor Things. And the level of detail that he had in every aspect of the filmmaking process, be it the production design, the costumes, the sets, the acting, the makeup, I think was just incredible. And if you see his previous movies as well, like The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, he has incredible attention to detail, and he's got a very peculiar direction style, which obviously is heightened with a higher budget over here in this movie. So overall, I think Yorgos Lanthimos for me for Poor Things. Now coming to the Best Actor category. The nominations here are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Colman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Now over here, my personal favorite was Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. I thought he was just great. His timing, his humor, his wit was just amazing in this movie. But again, I think I'm being a little subjective over here. If I were to be completely objective, I am going to have to give this to Bradley Cooper for Maestro. So Bradley Cooper has gone through an immense training routine and schedule to get into the character of Leonard Bernstein for Maestro. It took him 6 years to prepare for this role, which involved everything from taking music lessons to actually watching interviews of Bernstein, meeting Bernstein's family, really getting into the skin of the character over here. And you do see that in the film as well. Now, I'll be honest over here, I didn't like the film per se. I thought it was too overindulgent. But having said that, I still feel that out of all the nominations out here, just the sheer amount of effort that Bradley Cooper has put into preparing for this role, I feel this should go to him. I'm not saying that that should be the only contention for giving it to him as Best Actor. I feel all the performances here are already at a certain level. So based on that logic, I feel Bradley Cooper for Maestro. Now, I know a lot of you might say, hey, why not Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer? And to that, I would like to say, go ahead and check out actual interviews of J. Robert Oppenheimer. Then go ahead and check out interviews of Leonard Bernstein and see the acting, see the performances given by Bradley Cooper and Cillian Murphy, and just see the level of detail that they've gone into in portraying these characters. And I feel that'll draw you closer to what my answer is and why I pick Bradley Cooper. Moving on to the Best Actress category, some very promising names over here. We've got Annette Bening for Nyad as Diana Nyad. We've got Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. We've got Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. Now, over here, I've got to say I'm torn between Carey Mulligan and Emma Stone. Carey Mulligan was just incredible in Maestro, and I feel she just had such an immense control over her emotions, over her acting. She had such a wide range throughout the movie, because the movie spans across their life since they were, in the early 20s till, they were a lot older. And I feel she has complete control and command over her character at every decade of the character's life. So I think she did a phenomenal job over there. But having said that, I think Emma Stone, just by a very, very, very slim margin, steals this over here in Poor Things. Her performance in Poor Things is a career best. It is absolutely splendid. And I think Best Actress for me is Emma Stone, Poor Things. Now, moving on to the Best Supporting Actor category. The nominations here are Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. Now, out of this list, I feel my pick over here is Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. And that's mainly because I think his performance was just so profound in the movie that, days after I watched the movie as well, I just could not stop thinking about him. I could not get him out of my head. And he had this very long-lasting impression, not just on my mind, but I think on a lot of our minds. And I just feel that he definitely had a very powerful performance as a supporting actor in Oppenheimer. So Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer for me. Now, speaking about the Best Supporting Actress category, here are the nominations. Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Now, over here, I feel, again, some very close contenders, but my pick is Jodie Foster for Nyad. And I say this because I've watched interviews of Bonnie Stoll, the character that Jodie Foster plays, and she's done a very, very good job picking up the nuances of this character. And also, I think the makeup and everything is done really well. But I also feel that apart from this, just in terms of the body language, the dialect, the mannerisms have been picked up very well by Jodie Foster. So I think she's done a great job over here. So Jodie Foster, Nyad for me, Best Supporting Actress. Now, Best Original Screenplay, one of my favorite categories at the Oscars. Let's go ahead and take a look at the nominations. You've got Anatomy of a Fall, Justin Triet and Arthur Harari. The Holdovers, David Hemmingson. Maestro, Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. May December by Sammy Birch. And Past Lives by Celine Song. Over here, I think undoubtedly the winner for me is Anatomy of a Fall. I think this movie had a brilliant screenplay. I was hooked from the start through the end. And I feel just the dialogues, the subplots, and all the elements that went into the screenplay. I mean, writing a courtroom drama that keeps you as hooked throughout is definitely commendable. I feel like if you haven't watched the movie yet, please go ahead and watch it. You will absolutely love it. It is also very well paced. Clearly, winner for me, Anatomy of a Fall. Speaking of the Best Adapted Screenplay category, we've got American Fiction by Cord Jefferson, Barbie by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, Oppenheimer by Christopher Nolan, Poor Things by Tony McNamara, and The Zone of Interest by Jonathan Glazer. Out of all of these, I think the clear winner for me is American Fiction. I think this movie just had an incredibly adapted screenplay. It was funny, it was witty, it was emotional, it was incredibly layered, and it juggled seamlessly between emotion and humor with absolute ease. This movie was an absolute treat to watch. I highly recommend this movie if you haven't already watched it. Clearly, my pick over here is American Fiction for Best Adapted Screenplay. The next category here is Best Original Score. We've got American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. And over here, clearly, the winner for me is Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer. The next category here is for best sound. Now, the difference between best sound and best original score basically is that your original score is your background music, and your best sound is basically your sound mixing, your sound design, your sound recording, and all of that. So here are the nominees for best sound. We've got The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, and Zone of Interest. Now, this definitely is a very, very difficult category to pick a winner from. Maestro obviously has some great sound to it. It stems from the different instruments that are being played, mixed with the dialogue, mixed with the surroundings, mixed with the activities happening in a room. We also at times feel that slight cigarette burn that Leonard keeps smoking. So I think very detailed sound designing over here. Oppenheimer, needless to say, had amazing sound design. But I feel the award here should go to the Zone of Interest. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I say this. The Zone of Interest, for those of you that don't know, is basically a story about a Nazi commandant and his family that live right next to the Auschwitz concentration camp. And throughout the movie, they show very banal, very monotonous tasks being done by this family just to sort of juxtapose the two realities over here, where on one end you have people who are being massacred, and on the other hand you just have people going about their daily life. What's beautiful and also harrowing about the sound design in this movie is that while you have a very basic scene of, let's say, someone at a dinner table or someone folding clothes, you in the background can hear screams and screeches from the concentration camp. The sound design for this movie has been very masterfully done, and in one of the interviews someone pointed out that the screeches or the screams of the people gradually go down as the movie progresses. And I think this is beautiful because what the sound designer and the director wanted to accomplish, or what they wanted to convey through this, was that just like how the family has gotten immune to these sounds and these shrieks, so does the audience after a given point of time. I feel they deserve the Oscar because given the slim budget that they had, they have done something extraordinary. Now, speaking of best production design basically is the look and feel of the movie. Everything from a paper that you see to the massive set that is built comes under production design. So over here, the nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Over here, I think my top picks are Barbie and Poor Things, but I feel the award here should definitely go to Barbie. What they created with Barbie was something that was never seen before. It was an incredible set with insane attention to detail, and I think just bringing that overall world to life with such accuracy is definitely commendable. So for me, it's definitely Barbie for Best Production Design. The next category here is Best Cinematography, and the nominees here are El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Out of all of these, I would say the movies that stood out the most for me were Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and El Conde, but I feel like it's really hard to beat Oppenheimer with its big bomb sequence, and overall otherwise as well. I think Oppenheimer was just brilliant with cinematography, so I'm going with Oppenheimer for Best Cinematography. Speaking of Best Makeup and Hairstyling, we've got Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow. Now, again, I think this is a very difficult category as well. I feel Maestro, obviously, because it's got some incredible makeup. There's years and years that went into getting this makeup right. Every day on set, Bradley Cooper took 5 hours to get his makeup on to portray Leonard Bernstein. Apart from this, Poor Things as well, I think, has some incredible makeup. Especially Willem Dafoe's character has some brilliant makeup done to him throughout the movie. But I feel the movie that should win the Oscar, according to me, is Society of the Snow. This movie is basically about a plane crash in the Andes and how the survivors really struggle to sort of make it out, to get some help and just stay alive. And why I think the makeup over here is just brilliant is because you have shown a journey of people over the course of about 1.5 to 2 months in extreme snow, in horrible weather, and just the range of the makeup and prosthetics to be done over here were pretty crazy, from something as small as your cheeks getting more pink, to your lips chapping, to frostbites, to just broken limbs and flesh. And I think the team over here has done an absolutely phenomenal job. Also, side note, this movie is a brilliant movie. It's a very, very well made and sincere movie. Has definitely got its heart in the right place. I would say if you haven't watched it, definitely give it a watch. Coming to Best Costume, we've got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. And over here, undoubtedly the winner for me is Barbie. Again, I feel just the world created over here by Barbie was absolutely incredible, and just the amount of detail that went into the production design and the costumes was really insane. And I feel just the number of shades of pink they've used in Barbie is absolutely crazy to even think about. So clearly for here, Barbie wins Best Costume Design for me. And the last category here is Best Film Editing. The nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Now, out of these, the movies that stand out the most for me are Anatomy of a Fall, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I think this also is a very difficult choice for me, but I'm going to have to go for Anatomy of a Fall for Best Film Editing. Given the scale of this movie, I feel Lawrence Senecal has done an absolutely amazing job as an editor. You do not feel bored for a single moment in the film. There are massively long courtroom drama sequences that you absolutely never feel the length of the scenes. And the editor also does a great job keeping the suspense absolutely crisp at all points and never letting you side with any one person for too long.
Alright folks, so that's what I thought for the films last year. And well, stay tuned to my channel to know more about what I think about the movies this year as well.